I'd say it's not too dissimilar. There are actually a lot of concepts that are pretty much kind of the same thing as what we did last year. So that's was easy for us to kind of make that transition. But I'd say really just the biggest thing is just kind of our thought process on certain concepts just is a little different than it was in the years past. And nothing crazy, but just maybe like kind of how we're supposed to think about approaching a certain play has is maybe a little different. It's kind of hard to explain, but just maybe like on this coverage, we'll think about doing this opposed to a progressive versus this coverage or something else versus another coverage. So it's not too different, but I mean, if you really look into the details, there was some things here and there, but nothing much.
Let's go to Audrey Snyder with The Athletic.
Morning, Will. Thanks for your time.
Morning.
I know a few years ago with Tommy Stevens, it was the Lion package, and that was the name for it when he came on the field. Is there a name for the package that you guys are running with you in it? And at what point did Coach Shiraka kind of bring this into the offense? Was it during camp, or do you kind of remember how that went? Was there a conversation about it?
The actual, well, at least the package we used last week was put in for just that week. It just happened to go in there. I mean, there are always talks about me possibly going in certain situations and running whatever, but that package from last week was new. We called it the Falcon formation, which is now the Falcon package, but there's no real name for it. It's pretty much personnel that we have in other situations in the game, but then just me coming in to do whatever. So yeah, I guess it's called the Falcon package.
Let's go to Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Good morning, Will. We appreciate your time. These last few weeks, kind of battling with Sean on the practice field, where we've been waiting to see who would get to start. How would you describe what you learned about yourself, what you learned about Sean, kind of surfacing in the Michigan game where you both had success and the team won?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show that regardless of your position on a team, you got to just stay ready, and you never know when your time's going to come. And when it does, you just got to make sure you make the most of it. And it's hasn't really changed the way that we've approached practice. I mean, we've always trying to kind of approach practice the same way, regardless of the situation. And the past few weeks haven't really changed that. But just in terms of both of us being able to get in there and play, and then obviously just what really matters is getting the win, which what happened last week. And I'm just glad that happened.
Let's go to Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Good morning, Will. Obviously, the offense was clicking on Saturday. I just wondered, what was your level of frustration with the first 5 weeks, the way the offense performed, and why did it flip the switch this past Saturday and be successful?
I mean, I think there's a lot of little things here and there that are just kind of hard to point at, but just what I did know is that we were really, really, really close to things clicking and just this becoming just a really well-oiled machine. And I think we got some glimpses of that here and there throughout the season, but just hadn't been able to put together a full game of kind of just a solid offensive performance all around. But I mean, sure, Michigan, we played well, but we still didn't even touch the surface of kind of where our potential is right now, which is exciting. And I think it's just going to take time. We're going to keep working. We're going to keep chipping away. But I mean, we have faith in this offense, in the system, and in our coaches and in our players. So I think it's just a matter of time before things start popping off.
Let's send it up to the state of Connecticut. Eric Dobratz, go ahead.
Good morning, Will. I'm covering you back in the days at Xavier High School. We're also proud of you back here at home, but how proud you are to represent your home state, and you've been the talk of the town back here, and let people know that there's a lot of good football players that come from Connecticut.
Yeah, it's great to represent Connecticut, and obviously there's not maybe too many recruits that come out of Connecticut that play Power 5 football, but I mean, we got a few guys on the team here that just goes to show that we're producing some talent up there, and that as long as you just work hard and make sure to try to kind of get yourself recognized a little bit, then there's going to be opportunities for you. So it's great to kind of let those kids in Connecticut, whether the high schoolers or younger kids, kind of know that if they put their mind to it, then it's still as possible for you as it is for any other kid. So I trusted the process. I kind of went through all of that, and maybe it was a little more difficult for me than other kids in different areas. But I mean, you just got to play the cards that you're dealt with. And so that's been exciting. And then having a lot of people reach out to me the past few weeks from back home, just watching from wherever they're from, has been really exciting. So that's always an extra piece of motivation that I get throughout the game week, is just remembering kind of people back home that are watching me every weekend, and just the people that I'm playing for, really.
Let's go to Greg Pickle, Penn Live.
Will, good morning. What does it take for this offense to build on what you guys did at Michigan? What's the next step in practice this week and then at Rutgers on Saturday?
Just continuing to grind, continuing to push, to not lose any focus. I mean, obviously with the rough start to the season, when things like that happen, it can't make you invest less. It has to make you invest more. So I think as long as we just stick to our process, stick to what we've been doing throughout the practice kind of schedule the last few years, and trusting the offense and trusting our coaches, we don't have to do anything more than that. I think it's just going to come naturally. And I think just all of a sudden kind of it's going to happen, but it's going to take a long time, if that makes any sense.
Donnie Collins, Scranton.
Will, you said earlier that you didn't think the offense touched its potential against Michigan. What do you think the potential is for this group? Maybe not this week, next week, but long term. What do you see this offensive strength being?
I'd say one of the things, I mean, that we talked about it. We talked about it as a quarterback room, and something that just part of what's the meat that's left on the bone is just that we have some really good athletes, some really good receivers that can make plays, and being able to capitalize on some shots and to just push that ball down the field more, longer throws down the field. There's explosive plays were a thing for us. I think we only had like 9 or 10% explosive plays against Michigan, with our goal of 16%. We're just not there yet. So we put up the yards, we put up the numbers, but I think that at least one piece and one kind of important piece to taking that next step is getting those explosive plays up.
Rich Scarcella, Reading Eagle.
Will, if we all look around the country, you could see players opting out from different programs, especially when they fall out of contention for their conference championships. And I was just wondering, why do you think we've seen few or just maybe nobody leaving Penn State, and why has this team managed to stick together even after the start?
I mean, we're a family. I mean, I'm not in that position right now to kind of make that decision, so I don't know kind of what thought process those kids are going through. But I mean, I think that everyone here kind of just loves each other, and everyone wants to play for each other. And I'm not saying that people that are opting out are like turning their back on their teammates or anything, but I'm just saying that everyone just kind of wants to play and kind of make this last push throughout the season with each other. And personally, if I were in that position, I'm not saying it's the right or wrong thing to do. I just think that if I chose to opt out or whatever, if I was out of contention, I would have just felt like I would have given up on my team, which wouldn't sit right with me. And I think other guys might feel the same way. I know that there's other intangibles to kind of take into account that I don't necessarily understand with the position I'm in now, but I'm just speaking from where I personally feel. So I'd say that's where it comes from.
Let's go to Gabe Angieri, Onward State.
Hey, Will, how are you?
Thank you. I'm well.
So with all the battle that you and Sean have gone through the last couple of weeks, can you just talk about a little bit about your preparation leading up to each week and during practice?
Yeah, so preparation really hasn't changed much. I mean, I try to approach every practice the same way, regardless of if I'm going to be the starter that week or if I'm not. So that's kind of what makes you prepared for that next moment. But that whole week, I mean, nothing really changed in terms of how I approached it mentally. I mean, the reps kind of changed a little bit just with who's getting reps with the ones, who's getting reps with the twos, but still doesn't really change how you approach things. But I'd just say that the biggest thing would just be being able to get reps with the one O-line and receivers and get that chemistry down. Whereas if you're the second string a certain week, you don't get those reps. So that's pretty big. But other than that, nothing really changed.
Let's go to Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Will, after the Nebraska game, you said that Sean handled that situation that he encountered as well as any quarterback could. A week later, you were in that situation coming out of the game and Sean going in. Did you take away anything you saw from Sean the week before and kind of apply that to the way you approached it and kind of in general, having the one game as a starter and seeing that go away quickly, how have you dealt with that? I have to imagine there's some disappointment involved.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely kind of took what Sean's experience and how he handled it and took that as a good example of kind of what to do in that situation. So when I was faced with a similar situation, I mean, obviously it was pretty disappointing and frustrating, but throughout that game, I was still supportive of my teammates and was that guy on the bench that Sean could come to and talk to. But I really just tried not to let it affect me.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Will, I can understand where confidence might have waned the first 5 weeks of the season, but what did Saturday's performance do for your confidence, and how have you guys sustaining that in practice this week, getting ready for Rutgers?
It's huge. I mean, it's been a while since we've won a game. I forgot how good winning feels. And I think that everyone kind of tasted that on Saturday for the first time in a while too, and kind of put a little pep in their step and just gave them some energy. But it still hasn't really changed the way that we're approaching things. I mean, I regardless of how the games have played out this year, I think that our preparation has pretty much stayed pretty constant every week, regardless of what's happened the previous week. And that's the same with after a win too. So, I mean, Sunday, the mood was great, obviously with it being the day after a win than a loss. But I feel like after our off day on Monday, yesterday and today, we're kind of just back to business. So we're just focused on Rutgers now and getting another win on the board.
Audrey Snyder, The Athletic.
Well, what we saw Kevon Lee do on Saturday, have you guys been seeing this all along in practice from him? And if so, like, is there a moment, whether it was preseason or during the season, where he maybe made a play that impressed you or anything like that?
He's always been a great player, and we knew that there were going to be big things coming for him. And it just so happened that his name was kind of called upon this year earlier than he might have expected or anyone else might have expected with just the injuries that we've been dealing with. But I'd say probably going back to camp, maybe I remember like the second or third day of camp. It was really my first time seeing him in like full pads, and we were doing the Lions Den kind of post stretch, like kind of pre-practice competitive period with just the younger dudes, like running back, 3 linemen and a 3D lineman and then a backer. And I remember seeing him and I was like, this kid's like, he's thick, like he's built, like he's gonna be a power back. And just I was looking forward to seeing what he was able to do. And I took that handoff, I think, on the first play and took it for a win for the drill. So right then and there, I thought that maybe we had something special with him, but I hope he doesn't hear any of this, let this go to his head, but he can be a really good player and just looking forward to seeing his development.
Eric Dobratz.
Will, earlier in the call, you talked about trusting the process. You know, back when you were in high school, you had to be patient. And how much has that helped you now, just being patient, waiting your turn? I mean, it's frustrating. Everyone wants to play right away, but how much has that helped you over your career, just learning to be patient and trust that process?
Yeah, I think it's just big with our culture too, and buying into kind of what we believe in here as a team, which is one of the biggest things, is just trusting the process and kind of just sticking to what works. And I'm just going to continue to do and stick to my formula, which has proven to work for other people in the past, and trust that kind of what I'm looking for will eventually come to me, and just kind of pursuing team goals, kind of and not individual goals. Let those individual goals kind of come without trying. So just sticking with the process of the team, continuing to work my butt off, and then just trusting that good things will come eventually.
We got time for a few more questions. Donnie Collins, Scranton.
Well, when you're going through a little bit of a rut, turning the ball over, what did you guys do to kind of get through that? Watching film, during practice, how much did you kind of rely on Kirk and the coaching staff to kind of get you guys through that? Did preparation change at all?
Yeah, no, it's turnovers are always not just one thing. We talk about ball security as a whole offensive unit thing, whether it's the quarterback being accurate with his throws or the linemen doing their job in protection, same with the running backs, or the receivers catching the balls or running the routes correctly so that timing is right. It's never just one thing. And so that's why, every single week, ball security is our number one priority, and that it has been since camp. And we did have some kind of situations in games where it became a problem for us. And it's just continuing to just grind and work as a whole offensive unit and ironing out the little things that are causing these big mistakes, because I think as soon as these little things are kind of worked through, then huge changes will come from it. So it was nice going through this past week, Michigan, and not having any turnovers. That was a huge kind of thing that we were excited for. And that's the standard moving forward. And that's just what we're going to have to keep building on from.
Two more questions. We have Rich Garcella, Reading Eagle.
Will, what have you seen on tape or on film, from the Rutgers defense? What problems might they pose?
Biggest thing is they play really hard. And last year I remember I started for them, so I have some fond memories of playing against them, but they got a new defense now, so it's not going to be what we've seen in the past from them, but just their guys play hard, and it's evident on film. You can see them every play, regardless of who they're playing, regardless of when in the game, regardless of what the score is. They play their butts off, and just very physical, and I think that we're going to be able to match their physicality. I know we're going to be able to match their physicality, but I just know that it's going to be a grind of a kind of process throughout the game, because we know that they're not going to let up, and we won't either. So should be fun. So that's the one thing I've noticed about them for sure. New, like I said before, new defense than what we've seen from them in the past. So that's just going to be one thing that we're going to have to study. And we have some coaches that are familiar with just the system that they're running right now, which is nice. So just going to have to take this week to learn their defense as best as possible, and then just be ready mentally for what to expect come game day.
Our last question goes to Nubias Wilborn, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
With the package, with everything you've been through this year, what are your two biggest takeaways from this season, going back to starting, then going back to now, having this Falcon package?
My two biggest takeaways, just probably preparation, how preparation is key. I always talk about this, just preparation and coming into practice every day and preparing as if you're the starter and being ready for an opportunity when it comes. And then keeping a positive attitude would probably be the second one, and just the importance of that. And just regardless of how things are going, whether it's what you personally might like, if you like your situation or you don't like your situation, just keeping a positive attitude at the end of the day is always going to help your situation ultimately. So I'd say preparation and just keeping a positive attitude. Those are the two biggest things I'd say.